All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Saving Africa Uncensored. I really wanted to share this with you. It's sort of a good news coming from Kenya. It's very laudable, and I want to give it, up to the president of Kenya. But of course, there's been a lot of mixed emotions from Kenyans. It's all about sovereignty at the end of the day, and I understand why people feel like, they shouldn't allow all the folks, regardless of, race, to come and flood their countries. I mean, I respect that. It's their space, and they want to be able to enjoy their space. It's one thing to come and visit, but it's another thing to just come and stay in these various countries. I mean, we're all Africans. We should be able to coexist and live, but if all African countries can just fix their countries, it'd be a beautiful thing, and nobody has to move and go, find refuge in another man's country. And we see how Kenyans are actually striving to maintain and protect democracy. But what we've seen, Kenya is now visa free, as you all can see, and that's what I want to share with you. Would you venture to visit Kenya? I mean, in light of the recent protests, the killings that we've seen. I saw a documentary by Mehdi Hassan, who was speaking with the leader of the parliament in Kenya, and that was a shocker, for people to be killed because they're protesting. But it's a trend across East Africa. But let me share the video with you real quick, because that's what I want to share with you, so you guys can see that, and then we'll take it from there. But yes, Kenya is now visa free. You'll listen to this and listen to the limitations that it has as far as being visa free to everybody. You can go and visit, and there's limitations to the visit. So let's take a look at this together.
Travel across the African continent. Kenya has now scrapped visa requirements for all African nationals and most Caribbean countries. Travelers from these regions will no longer need to apply for an electronic travel authorization, also known as an ETA, or fill out any cumbersome forms or pay any visa fees. Instead, they can simply show up at the border and walk right in, hassle-free. Now, under this new policy, African nationals can stay in Kenya for up to 2 months, while citizens of East African Community member states will be allowed to remain for up to 6 months. The Kenyan government says that it's all part of a bigger push to strengthen regional integration and boost tourism across Africa. Now, Kenyan ministries have already been tasked by President Ruto to iron out the implementation details to ensure a smooth rollout next year. However, this open door policy does come with a few exceptions. Citizens, unfortunately, of Somalia and Libya will still need visas or an ETA, and officials are citing ongoing security concerns for this. But with this shift, Kenya is positioning itself not just as a travel hub, but as a leader in continental and indeed Pan-African collaboration. This is a commendable and idealistic approach by Kenya. I think it's great. It's going to boost tourism and Pan-Africanism, but they will have to make sure that this visa-free policy is not exploited by unscrupulous individuals. Moving on. Let's actually take some tweets right now.
Okay, let's see how the
Neon says,
Kenyans are
this makes
reacting.
Kenya a walk-in country for criminals. Say goodbye to our well-reputed international tourism. Everything we have proudly built over the years will unfortunately be pulled apart by the unchecked criminal. This free-for-all entry is chaotic, creates lawlessness, and locals get a raw deal with no regulations for entry. We'll take one more social media submission. Shola says, Nigerians will flock into Kenya and destroy it the same way they did to South Africa. That's not xenophobic at all, is it? Moving on in the world of Nigerian news. The Church of Nigeria.
Now that I use
Alright,
Monday
guys,
service.
that's what I wanted to share with you all. We've seen that. So, with the exception of Somalia and Libya, every other African country, you can enter Kenya visa free. You don't need no visas to go to Kenya. But this is what my take is when it comes to this. I think this is a distraction move, by the president of Kenya, giving the recent videos that showed up on social media where he was telling police to, shoot, it called them arsonists, but we know it's protesters. Shoot them in the leg and they'll take them to the hospital. Don't kill them, but shoot them in the leg. I think this is a distraction from that, because that has been making a lot of news in the headlines internationally. So I think this move pulled by the Kenyan president is probably, meant to, the news cycle is about, 48 to 72 hours. That's how long it takes. Something else comes up, everybody forgets about what has happened, and then now the new thing. So maybe that's the tactic here. That's the technique that the Kenyan government is doing, pulling this off, because this is a big Pan-Africanist move, and a lot of Africans are going to be excited and happy. But for those people that don't pay attention to Kenyan politics, I think they need to understand exactly what has been happening in Kenya. And people like myself, we care about human rights. We care about the rights of citizens. We care about their constitutional rights. And we've seen the violation, of citizens' rights in Kenya protesting. We saw how a teacher, because he wrote an article about corruption, of the police boss. I mean, this man was arrested, locked up at a police station. He was strangled and killed. The family members found out later because, they said, "Oh, well, we don't know what killed him," but an autopsy was done. Independent autopsy was done, and they found out that he was strangled in his jail cell and he was killed. So of course that sparked another, set of protests across Kenya. So if we say we have democracy, I think we have to hold our leaders' feet to the fire to understand that democracy, comes with divergent voices, and people are going to have to speak up and make their points known, and they should not be killed for that. But we see a lot of these African presidents, especially what is happening in East Africa and West Africa currently. When you take Sierra Leone as an example in West Africa, where he is the current chairman of the Authority of Heads of States of ECOWAS, Julius Maada Bio, who is illegally occupying the presidency in Sierra Leone as well. You see this tactic, you see this pattern, this pattern of killing people, killing protesters, silencing, opposition. So much to the point where, like in Sierra Leone, there is no opposition no more. And I guess in Kenya, unfortunately, Ruto has not been able to succeed in that light because the people of Kenya are civically awoken. They don't look at their tribes or look at, their ethnicities or their various where they're from or, put political leaders above everybody else. They focus on their country. They want to protect democracy. So I think the Kenyan people have worked too hard to just keep an open border, make it open for everybody to just come into Kenya and flock without having a visa. You can just come into the country. I think that is a reservation that a lot of Kenyans have, and I can understand. But of course, we want an Africa where we should be able to travel, to each African country, without a visa. I think it makes sense. But what does not make sense is the fact that when some countries are trying to do their best, their people are standing up to protect their democracies so they can have the freedoms that they deserve, like what Kenyans are standing up for. You have other Africans that are lazy and don't want to challenge their authoritative leaders that are in power, who's killing them, oppressing them, and suppressing them. They'll rather run away to go seek greener pasture in these other countries where African folks have been standing up to protect their freedoms. And now you want to come and enjoy that same freedom, but you couldn't stand up to have that same freedom in your country of birth. I think it is that inequality that's making it difficult for us to have open borders across Africa. Because picture and imagine if every African country would adhere to the tenets of democracy, would respect the rights of the people, respect the rights of free speech, respect the rights to protest, right? Where they believe that when elections are held, it is the votes of the people that should speak. The votes of the people should elect these leaders. But unfortunately, across Africa, what we've been seeing is that a few selected now are the ones that are selecting because it's a selection. It's not an election no more. They're the ones selecting who they want to occupy the office of presidents in some African countries. And Sierra Leone is a case in example where we had an elections and it's been 2 years. June 24th, 2023 was the elections. 2 years on, we don't have the results of the elections. The opposition has come together with this ruling party that is in power, Julius Maada Bio, who is the current chairman of ECOWAS, like I said, unconstitutionally and illegally, because he shouldn't be the chairman of the authorities of heads of state. It should not be president of Sierra Leone at this point. Dr. Samora Kamara won the elections, who's the opposition leader. But of course, the rest of his political party said, no, we don't want the victory. We're going to move on. So we've seen across Africa that democracies are dying and people are losing faith in the system. There is voter apathy. But the people of Kenya have stood up. We all saw them taken to the streets, to protest the death of citizens that are exercising their democratic rights. So when I saw this announcement by Ruto, it kind of rung a bell that, okay, is he just trying to distract us, opening up his borders, this Pan-Africanist move? Because some of these leaders, when they've killed their people, then they tend to act like they're Pan-Africanists, right? Like Sierra Leone as an example, you'd have Julius Maada Bio going to the, United Nations Council, United Nations Security Council, talking about Africa should have a seat at the table. But this man cannot even provide electricity in his own country. but it wants to be respected by these, first world powers. How can they respect you when you cannot even respect the basic tenets of democracy in itself? They know that the United States Department's, States Department puts out reports every year about human rights abuse, and Sierra Leone every year basically fails. So how can you go to the United Nations Security Council and be talking about having a seat at the United Nations? But when they say stuff like this, other Africans see this without context. They assume that these guys, oh, must be a wonderful president in their own countries. So we've seen them faking to be Pan-Africanists, but in reality, they're not. Let me welcome my brother. So this is what is actually happening, and that's why I want to share this with you. So I want you to listen to this video of Ruto actually telling police officers to shoot protesters in the leg. It calls them arsonists or whatever the case is, but it's telling us police officers. So that backlash alone in itself, I think it's why Ruto has opened up the borders of Kenya to distract us from that news, so we can move on to the next big thing and say, "Oh, Pan Africanism is at play here." So let's watch this video together.
Mtu ambaye anachukua moto anaenda kuchoma biashara ya mtu, anaenda kuchoma mali ya watu wengine. Mtu kama huyo apigwe risasi miguu, aende hospitali, akienda kotini. Yes. Yeah. Wasimuue, lakini wapige hii miguu ivunjike ndio aende kotini, aende hospitali, akienda kotini. Enough is enough. Haiwezi kuendelea tena. I will protect property ya wananchi wa Kenya, maisha ya wananchi wa Kenya, biashara ya wananchi wa Kenya. It is the responsibility of the government of Kenya, which I lead, that is going to make sure hii vita ya kuharibu mali na kuchoma biashara ya watu itakoma. It must stop. Sijui kama tunaelewana. And we are going to use whatever means that is available to make sure that we stabilize the country. We cannot accept mayhem and anarchy.
So this is what has happened. And this is the language that they use when they've oppressed their people and the people are protesting. A lot of times the government themselves are the ones that send the thugs to get and mix into the crowds to create mayhem and confusion, so that they can come back and say, look at them, they are arsonists, they are destroying businesses, they are destroying properties. Whilst majority of Kenyans or Africans that are protesting are not involved in broken shops and stealing and all of that, but they create, this madness. They bring thugs, they pay them, give them, some alcohol, give them drugs, and say go get mixed in the crowd and broke some stores, and then they use that against the people that are actually protesting for their rights. These African leaders, it's a shame because they see what is actually happening in European countries, or in the United States, of all these other countries. Even though, I mean, we've seen what has been happening lately, with the Trump presidency. But at the end of the day, protesters' rights are protected. So I want to share that with you. Kenya is now visa free. Every African can go into Kenya, except for Somalia and Libya. They still have to apply for a visa. But if you are East African, you're within that block, Tanzania, Uganda, that block of East Africa, you can stay in Kenya for 6 months without no visa. But after that, of course, there'll be some ramifications. If you're not from East Africa, you can stay for 2 months. After that, there'll be some ramifications as well. But that's what I wanted to share with you. Let us examine this. Let's talk about it. Yes, visa-free Kenya. It's a beautiful thing. We want to see visa-free across Africa, but at the same time, we want to make sure that every country gives a fair share. And the people that are fighting to protect their democracy and their freedoms, they should not be tightened. They should not be swamped. And I think Kenyans, hopefully, will not be swamped by other Africans who are lazy and are defending democracies in their own country, and will want to come over to countries where the people are standing up to protect their own democracies and enjoy that freedom that they've not fought for in their own country. All right. But I'm going to leave it right here, guys. That's it. All right. Thank you, Lamin. Abdul Sarawali, how are you? Lamin Deke, you see the recent post here on the X today? No, let me see what you were talking about, man. Deke, I was thinking about you the other day. I was going to send you a message, but with life, everything is moved so fast. I guess I forgot. Let me see what is happening on Twitter. Um, BO, let me see my notifications here. I guess I might have to just search for him then. All right. Okay, he's right here, Denke. Let me put this on the screen and see what's going on. All right. So as global aid declines, Africa must lead its own development. Denke, is this what you're talking about, my man? Echoes, you're not serious. How can an undemocratic president ask his opponent to step down? Thank you, Tijan. They're crazy. But yeah, as global aid declines, Africa must lead its own development, and our greatest potential lies in our fields. Together with Governor McKinley, Simon, blah, 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 I make the case for agriculture, led transformation into Brookings, Africa, Sierra Leone, blah, 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 all that nonsense. We've heard the same thing again and again. These guys are on serious. It is just that now, like since the presidency of Trump, the doors are being short. The doors are being shut. So now you take USAID, there's no USAID there, WHO, so it's the shock that they're receiving and they're beginning to understand exactly what it is. But until these guys gets their acts together, Africans are going to keep dying. Starvation, hunger, it's going to be a thing because we should be able to feed ourselves. Look across Sierra Leone. I can show you a Google map. We have land, empty, array, vast land, fertile land that can be used to feed our people. But these guys have no ideas. All they're thinking about is when is the next donor funding coming so they can continue to entrap our people in debt for generations yet unborn to take care of those debts. So this is all bull crap. It's bullshit. They're only coming to realize that, those days are over. The free money is over. And the people of Africa are asking fundamental questions. But again, this man is illegal. He's not a president in Sierra Leone. He does not have a results to show and substantiate his victory. So we're not even talking about him. But we always have to make sure when we mention this guy, we let the world know and understand exactly that he is a criminal. He does not have an election results. He stole the election. Where is the results? Up till this day, doesn't have it. People are silent. Opposition has joined hands with him to silence the people. They're killing our people when they ask. They're locking them up when they ask. They're chasing them when they ask for the results. The sad in Sierra Leone. And this is why, we continue to talk about these issues and take it there. But thank you, Lamin. Uh, Thank you, Brother Dula. Thank you. Yes, guys, it's a quick one. I have other things I want to do here, so I have to go. My computers are ready. I'm all signed in and ready to work on some other projects that I'm working on. So I just wanted to do this quick live and talk to you guys and share this platform with you. As always, I'm very grateful. Thank you very much. And make sure you like and share. Saving Africa Uncensored. We're going big now. We're going global. That's the goal. Africa has to be saved, and we as Africans have a responsibility, through civic education to teach our people the right things. So I wish everybody well. Kenyan people, I wish you well. Keep standing up for your democracy. Keep protecting your democracy. Ruto was once, a lover of the youths. So it is the same youth that he used to love back then and spur up to take action. These are the same youths that are standing up today to defend democracy in Kenya. Allow them to be free. Let them speak freely. Let them protest freely. Don't kill them. But yes, we want an Africa where, we can have a visa-free Africa. But at the end of the day, we're watching what you're doing as a democratic elected government as well. Are you upholding the tenets of democracy? Who's going to want to come to Kenya to visit Kenya amidst the light of everything that is actually happening? Killing your own people. Do I want to come to Kenya? No, I don't want to go to Kenya because it's nothing to write home about. The Kenyan people are struggling. They're standing up and fighting for their freedoms. Bye bye, everybody. Good luck.